Welcome. Thank you so much for coming out to our event today. We're really excited to be here. We're excited to have all of you. And I just got really nervous, so we'll just keep my name is Erin Nagley. I have the privilege of being a professor here at Columbia College. I teach biology. And last spring semester, I was on sabbatical with my wife, Lisa, and we went to a few places, including Tanzania and Madagascar. So I'll give you a moment to see if you can poke your neighbor and find where Madagascar is, if you haven't already. Put it on the map. What I wanted to do was talk to you for a minute about why we chose to go to Madagascar and how we met Gerard and how Gerard came to be at our college today. So this is my wife, Lisa Murphy. She's back there. Some of you might have or will have her in a class. She teaches for the Forestry and Natural Resources, and she was able to go on my sabbatical with me. And one of the things we were really interested in was looking at places of high biodiversity and how those countries are trying to help preserve and conserve that biodiversity. So this is us on a boat. Madagascar is behind us, and some of our hikes, and then I'll tell you about this story a little later. That's a lemur saying hello to Lisa. So what we did is we found a place where we could volunteer for 6 weeks to work on things like looking at forest conservation and turtle conservation. And this was the island that we stayed on for 6 weeks. So it's on the northern end of Madagascar. It's a small little island. You can see on the side closest to the wing, there's a small little village there. And a few people live all the way around the coast and a bit scattered across the island. But there are no cars on the island, not even a golf cart. So if you want to get anywhere, you're going to have to walk or take a boat around, which was lovely. To be able to be that mobile. So we actually flew into a larger island where Gerard lives, and then we ferried across to our 6-week home. This is where we stayed at the camp. It was full. We had about 60 other volunteers with us at the time, so that was our kitchen, open air. It was warm all the time, so that's where we had all of our meals. And then that was our cabin, where we stayed for 6 weeks. It was full of 6 bunk beds, so we shared our bunk with 4 other volunteers, which got a little crowded sometimes. There's basically room for 6 beds and no bags, so that was fun. That's where we stayed, and this was basically our view every day, which was pretty incredible. And this is from our island, actually looking at Ube National Park, which you'll be hearing about more soon. That's where Gerard works. And this is a picture of the outskirts of the village where we spent a lot of time. And you'll notice in the foreground you see a lot of stones. All those stones are hewn by hand and then carried down to the water. You can see this gentleman here has got 2 or 3 bricks on his shoulder. So there's a lot of construction happening on this island right now. Tourism is increasing year by year, and so more small little boutique hotels are being built every year, and that's calling for more and more construction materials. So they're actually hewing all those stones by hand, carrying them by hand to where they need to be, and building these small hotels. This is one of the main streets of the village where we were at. Most of them are just dirt. This one's been paved with these rocks. This is on the way to what's called the Lemur Park, which I'll talk about in a moment. And this is a typical kitchen for most people that lived in that village, and most of them were outside of their homes. So what do people do? Most people are either fishing or they're raising food to eat and as well as sell. And then as tourism increases on this island, more and more people are starting to create things to sell to tourists. So this was a gentleman with his son, and they were working on these carvings, and these were the carvings in front of their shop. And then a lot of women, what they do is they get a hold of sheets, and we've watched them, they draw designs on the sheets, and then they cut those up, and then they embroider them. So this is, yeah, it's incredible handiwork and craftsmanship. So then these get pinned up on days where people are coming to visit the island, and then they get sold to tourists. It's incredible work, creative work. So what are they coming to see? Well, primarily they're coming to see these guys. I mean, who wouldn't? Really cute. So this is the primary lemur species that lives on the island, called the black lemur or Lemur macaco. On the left, the brown one is actually a female, and then the males are black. They live in small troops. Gerard will talk to you more about that, but on this particular island, they have a park where people can come and feed the lemurs. So they'll come down out of the trees and for a banana. But for our forest conservation project, we spent some time watching lemur behavior, but then we also went out a lot to go look for reptiles and amphibians. So these are some of the ones we saw during the day. You'll notice on the top, there's one that's very camouflaged. At night, we saw different individuals. This one on the far left is one of my favorites. It's a gecko that has camouflage that makes it look like a leaf. So it's like if you took a leaf and a dragon and fused them together, get my spirit animal. And then we saw lots of spiders. There's all kinds of incredible spiders. But one of the things that we noticed as we went on these walks to listen to bird songs and to identify birds and to look for lizards and amphibians is we were actually surprised how few we saw, and we were really surprised at how infrequent we heard birds singing. But as we went around this island, we realized the entire island has been turned into an agroforest. So there's no more primary forest left on this particular island. It's all, if there's anything growing, it's for food. Bananas, papayas, mangoes, jackfruit, which really impacts the biodiversity that's there. And while we were there, we met this woman on the far left. Her name's Jocelyn, and she was there studying lemurs. And what she was looking at was internal parasites of lemurs, which involves following lemurs around and collecting their poop and then doing DNA samples on the poop. And what she was finding was that these lemurs that interact with humans on a regular basis actually had a pretty high internal parasite load. Whereas lemurs in another place that had no interaction with humans, where they weren't being fed with humans, had much fewer internal parasites. And we said, well, where is this place? And she said, well, the Ube National Park. And that's when we knew we really needed to go. And she says, and you also need to meet Gerard. And so she introduced us to Gerard, who was our guide for the day. And these are all pictures from the Ube National Park we took that day. And it was transformative to walk into this forest and immediately hear this cacophony of birdsong, and we saw lizards and snakes and all kinds of invertebrates all over the place. And the amount of biodiversity in this forest was stunning to us, and the difference was huge. And that's when we our hearts really fell in love with Madagascar. We had loved it before, but to know that there was a place that was preserving this biodiversity really moved us. And so we really wanted to be part of helping to save this really precious place. So we did a couple of things. First of all, so there's your comparison, right? So this incredible diverse primary forest versus the agroforestry that's happening on Nosy Kumbo, we were saying. So we did a couple things. First of all, we connected our volunteer group with Gerard, and they came up with a plan. This on the far is Gerard showing a seedling. So they came up with a plan where they're going to take seedlings from the Ube National Park and transplant them into a plot in Nosy Kumbo, the island where we were staying, to try and re-establish a native forest, which is a few things. It gives habitat for the plants and the animals there, but a lot of these plants are medicinal, so people have access to that. And then we started talking to Gerard, like, what else could be done? And he says, well, I've been invited to this seminar on an international seminar on protecting tourism, on protecting tourism in protected lands, but there's no way I could afford to go on my own. And so he said, well, we'll help you get there. So we started a GoFundMe site. We applied for a World Wildlife Fund grant. We didn't get it, but we had our growth mindsets on. We said, what else can we do? So we turned to our local community and sat down with our superintendent of schools office and the Columbia College Foundation, and through those entities were able to raise funds, and then thought about what if we brought Gerard here to our campus and to our high schools to teach all of us more about Madagascar. And we're also working on setting up some sister school relationships between high schools in Madagascar and our high schools here in Tuolumne. And then where the seminar was, they were impressed with our efforts, saw our efforts, and then they were able to match our funds. So, my long introduction getting longer, we were able to get Gerard here And he's actually been in the States for about 5 weeks. He's just gotten back from Colorado and meeting with some other nonprofits, and he's really excited to be here with you today. So without further ado, if you could raise an applause for Gerard.
Salama, mbola tsara, bonjour, good afternoon. I'm grateful to be here today in front of all of you, and pleased, honored, humble. I thank you all for spending time with me to be here to learn more about Madagascar. Many people in the world, so many people think that Madagascar, there is no human being there, only lemurs. But I'm the ambassador of my community to be here in front of you today, and it's a real privilege to talk to you about this small, fourth biggest island in the world, known as one of the hotspots of biodiversity, the island called Madagascar. But before all, allow me just to give thanks and show my gratitude to every single person and organization having contributing to make my trip happen to the United States. To be honest, I've been dreaming more than 25 years to be in this country, but that never be happen without the help and hands of each and every one of those people here. So on behalf of my community, my colleague, my entire country, I do pleased to thank all of them and all of you here. Hopefully that this time will be not the end, but the beginning time of what we are going to raise together for the both sides, United States and the island of Madagascar. I would like just to thank, in particular, Amy Nilsson and Kathy Parker for the great job they did to make all this happen. So thank you so much. Where Madagascar is in the world? Here it is. Madagascar is an island close to Mozambique, because before the Gondwana, it stuck to Mozambique. Right now, Mozambique is here. But we have 400 kilometers of Indian Ocean separating my country and Mozambique. It has 587,000 square kilometers, about 1,500 kilometers from the north up to south, and around 470 from east to west. It's a Christian country. The population is about 25 million right now. It's a democratic country, and it's patriarchal country too. Does that make sense? Thank you. This is the fabulous inhabitants of the land of Madagascar with us. Yes, actually we have 5 families and more than 100 of species of lemur in the country. And every time we do research about lemur, we still discovering more and more species in the country. Amazing. It is amazing because why? At home, we don't have any of those big 5. All are in Africa. But you know what? We don't have those big 5. Of course, we have those small 5 at home. All the big fives are here in Africa, but there's no lemur there. It's amazing. All the lemur are in where we live, in Madagascar. You can see this one up here is known as Dobentonia madagascariensis. It is endemic to Madagascar. It is nocturnal. As you see, it has a very big eyes. Yeah. It's very interesting lemur. It's nocturnal, but unfortunately, the native people, the local people in the countryside, when they saw it, it's a bad sign of life, so they used to kill it. But thanks to the effort of conservation, now the behavior is changing from time to time. We have more than 12,000 flowering plants in the country. As you know, that on the east side of Madagascar, it's the rainforest. That's a very big habitats of rainforest from north up to south. It's so interesting plants. This is the one we used to call Baobab, the bottle tree, the tree of life. It is one of the attractions in the country. It's mostly seen in the northwestern side of Madagascar. We have, in the world, we have 8 species of baobabs. 7 of them only found in Madagascar. Yeah. One is seen in Tanzania and in Australia. Yeah, this is our ancestor. At home, it is not allowed in the community to point fingers to chameleon. Just why? Because we, Malagasy, we do believe that when a person dies, his spirit doesn't go right to heaven. He dwells somewhere else, mostly in the forest. And not elsewhere in the forest, but mostly in the source, where there's a spring, or chameleon. Amazing. If you ask me, I look like chameleon, I don't know. Yes, but to show respect, we should not point the chameleon. If unconsciously, by mistake, we point our fingers to chameleon, that is chameleon. We blow our fingers to say all excuses. Yeah. This is one chameleon now known as Furcifer pardalis. It's a very interesting chameleon in the country because of the color and very good in camouflage too, among the biggest chameleon in the country. But this chameleon is one of the fabulous animals that the Creator did, because it is one animal who is able to have a view at the same time with 360 degrees, one looking down and one looking the plane going. Here, the chameleon is so great because if they want to catch their prey, they the tongue is 2.5 times the length of the head up to the tail. So it must be very sure to catch their prey before they shoot. If not, they die. I have a family. My wife is Hanula, and I have 3 little children. Casey is the elder one, 12 years old, and I have Kiran, the boy, 5, and Keandra is my small child. This is the picture which is taken just before I left home at the airport. So you can guess I've been here for close to 5 weeks now, so starting the homesick. Yes. I'm in charge of ecotourism in Ube National Park. Ube is one of the national parks in the small island called Nosy Bay. on the northwestern side of Madagascar. Nosy Bay is one of the attraction, one of the destinations in the country in terms of tourism. So, accordingly to the statistics, more than 50% of our foreign tourists at home is from France. And then comes the German people, because they are very interested in wildlife. And then on the third range are the US people, the American people. So we used to have so many people from this country visiting and experiencing and helping my country to uplift. Ube National Park is at the same time both terrestrial and marine protected area. We have around 862 hectares of protected area. Here is the visitor center where I work. We started for tourism just in 2014. So young as National Park, but it has been classified as integral natural reserve according to the IUCN since 1927. Well, my daily job, my task is focused on creating and maintaining very well as possible the infrastructure in the park. Because the reason is we have steep trails in the park, and it is a rainy forest, so we have to keep our visitors safe as much as possible and pleased when they visit the park. Yeah. I build a very good relationship with the private sector as well. At this time, we start to improve our ecotourism because we do realize that our strength is our biodiversity. So we have to work hard on that and preserve and make that on the table of ecotourism market to be one of the tools of uplifting the country. Make marketing and collecting the feedback from people like you to make the park well. We have 27 national parks across the country, from the north up to south, east to west, and 14 special reserves and 2 natural reserves. So according to the IUCN categories of protected areas, these 2 is the most under conservation. Nothing is done in those 2 natural reserves except research only. And special reserve, according to my context, can start the ecotourism, but no infrastructure at all accepted. But the national park, of course, the infrastructure is already accepted to be built. I'm just going to bring you to appreciate some pictures of the faunas and floras, terrestrial and marine, in the country. Yes, I hear you. Oh. That is an adult one. That one is seen in the northwestern coast of Madagascar in a national park called Ankarafansk. This is in Tsimanampesuce, in south of Madagascar, Flamingo. This is Radiata, which is seen in Berenti. It's terrestrial turtle. The marine and terrestrial turtle in the country is totally under conservation. It's prohibited to send it out of the country. Is anyone recognize this? Yeah, caves. That is stalagmite and stalactite in caves in some national parks, but that one was taken from Lemur National Park. That is Isalu. It's like a western landscape, no? Yeah. But we don't have horse and we don't have cowboy there. That is a land formation called Tsingi. It's a limestone. It's one of the very interesting attractions in the country. We have 2 national parks populated by this Tsingi, which is so interesting to learn about. Inankaranga, my neighbor. This is one of the emblematic lemur in the country called Lemur Kata. Kata, it is Latin name taken from cat, because when this specific animal yell, the yell is like the yell of the cat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They used to live in a group of 8 to 12 individuals. They used to delimit their territory around 6 hectares. They used their fart to mark every single tree around, they fart on it to let know the other group that this is our own territory, so you have no right to get in. So if you get in, you're ready to fight. And those who win the territory. This is one of the blue-nosed chameleon in the country. Some interesting bird. This is native snake called Langa. Langa. We have around 100 species of snake at home, but no one is poisonous. Yeah. Amazing, yeah. We don't have no poisonous snake. All of them are friendly. Yeah. Frog. Madagascar, with 25 million of population, 80% of our co-citizens are farmers. Yeah, according to the statistic, 75 still live less than $190 a day. My government still have a lot to do to improve the electricity in the country. We have very good biodiversity, but of course, we have our challenges as well. You all know that a country like mine is among all those countries called undeveloping countries. So many strong countries take advantages of the situation that we are living of. But thanks to few people that the new wind is blowing in the country right now. So hopefully we go up from this time. But as challenges, we have illegal logging. We have rosewood. You've heard about that? Yes. One of the most precious woods in the world. During 5 to 10 years old, 10 years past, have been taken away from the country to be drawn mostly to China for years to years, and now that is not on anymore. Mining is still there. Poaching. Poaching is one of the challenges that we as park manager facing day by day. The reason is just because the surrounding people living around the park live in a deep poverty. When you as a parent living in a home and your children do not have anything to eat, then you as parent, you are ready to do anything, which able to have something for your kids. So the people used to go in the forest to hunt for surviving. But of course, we do know the value of our biodiversity because we don't have very big university. We don't have very big and high hospital. But this forest and the inhabitants is our university, is our hospital. We used to take leaves and herbs to treat our disease at home. We take wood from there for specific area to build our house. We bury our deads in the forest. So we have a very strong connection between the human and the forest, because the history tells us that all of us depended on the natural resource. We still depend on that. Of course, we we will depend on that again in the future. That's why now we battle as much as we can to make the natural resources for the next generation. These are the famous men in the country which blowing a new wind. On the left-hand side is the president, Andry Rajoelina. We, Madagascar people, we used to have very long name. He is the president in the country right now for 5 years term. And on his left-hand side is the prime minister. The president is elected, but he appoints his prime minister. He is very great and very strong man in the history of my country. What he has accomplished for 7, 8 months now is a great thing. Hopefully, he'll continue on that way. Let me just talk about the Cananga odorata. Cananga odorata is locally called ilangi-langi. This plant was brought from India, Malaysia, Indonesia during the slave time, and during the 1840s came to my country and now used as the flower are taken for making perfume, for oil, to make perfume. So if you know Chanel, very great brand of perfume in the world, are using extracted oil from this plant. It keeps alive the economy in the country, especially in the specific island where I live, but of course, it creates a very disaster as well for the conservation, because we still use traditional way to make the essential oil. So for one pot, just for an example, to cook 100 kilograms of flour in one pot for 24 hours, it needs 12 cubic meter of wood for 24 hours. So it becomes a very big issue at home, and hopefully that we will adopt a new way of extracting that oil, which is more sustainable way in order to to keep our ecosystem well as much possible. This is, for example, just a factory down in Nozibe. You can see that they're taking lots of woods to cook and to extract the oil. This is the current stove that they use at home. They take all the woods and they put it in here for 24 hours. So in Comoros, just an island close by in Indian Ocean is adopting a new techniques, a better techniques for this. So we are working with the Comoros people in order to ameliorate our system at home. We fight now with the current government to fight with the illegal fishing in the country. Because during the past government, they have contracted with the China to allow 60 shipping boats from China to fish in Madagascar Sea. But fortunately, the current government canceled that contract, and that doesn't happen anymore. Hope. This is one of the sample of rosewood, which is taken from the eastern side of Madagascar and brought to China for manufacturing lots of goods for years. But thankfully, now that doesn't happen anymore. Actually, we have a very big challenge of reforesting the country with the current government by planting 400,000 hectares of mangroves and native plants in the country. So here I was just leading the community to plant the mangroves. Here are the seeds on my hand. Of course, she's not my neighbor, but of course, she's my colleague, like you all, trying to do the best as she can to make this planet a best place in the future. Greta Thunberg is a 16 years old. You might know her a lot. It's a climate activist trying to shake the politician people to handle the issue of global warming, which is affecting a lot, especially us, the people living in an island. You all know that more than I. But something which is impressing in this girl is the faith within her and the commitment that she has for his loving planet. To take action doesn't need age. To take action doesn't need geographically situation. Doesn't need strong or weak. But all of us here can take action to make our livelihood better. And as coming from an undeveloping country, we might be poor. We don't have this such that the big country has, but we are proud of having the biodiversity that we have. So we'll do the best as we can to keep it for the planet. And I wish that, and all of us wish that we'll have a better planet for our next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Actually, we have our native language that we speak from the north to east, west to south. We understand each other. Not like in Africa continental, we have very many languages that some tribes could not understand the other tribe. But here, probably because we are island, so we frequent each other. I'm going to show you, to teach you how to greet in Madagascar, and I'm going to show you as well the talent that God has given me. At home we don't greet good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. We just say one word only. Mbalatsara. Please. Mba. Mbalatsara. You pronounce it well. Very good. Mbalatsara. If you greet someone, Mbalatsara, she responds you, Mbalatsara. In vovo, what's going on? Sis vovo. Nothing. Okay. I don't have nothing in my pocket to give you as you spend time with me here. But of course I have a gift from God that I never saw someone playing it. I wish, of course, so that we can play together. I tried to teach that to my friends when I was around 18, 20, but my friends couldn't, unfortunately. I don't even know when I did start to play, but it's like something just coming like that. We are having our fingers, we are able to do so many things. Each and every one of us is talented in specific thing, but with my fingers here, I can play an instrumental, natural instrument. which makes people so interested to learn. This is my finger, and I use my right hand, and I put my finger that way. Yes? Cheer up! Yeah. And I put my right hand that way, this, the curve. Okay? And when I play this on the stage, I used to put my hands in water so that the sounds is very acoustic.